Thanks very much, David. And Shumathalfa said, well. My name is John Norris. I'm Executive Director for the Collision Repair Association of Ontario. That's our logo on the Collision Industry Information Systems package there. And Collision Chair for NADA. We don't have a policy on parts procurement programs for NADA with the ACIA. In reference to David's, you guys know where we are, that's the border. 33 million people, a third of the world's fresh water. We make all our money selling you oil. And we have 95% of our car production comes here. So those cars that you're driving are all made in Southern Ontario. In terms of shops, the latest data is somewhere around the mid-6,000 range for that country. One of the challenges, and perhaps it's unique, certainly it's unique from New Zealand, is sheer volume. I mean, it takes you 24 hours driving full speed just to get across Ontario. So it's a huge dynamic. I think 2 summers ago we had 434 forest fires burning all at the same time, and it wasn't considered an emergency. So it's a big place. In terms of the association on NADA, we have about 5,000 facilities through our various regional associations who are members. About 1,500 of those are collision repair, auto body rub, or finish facilities. And when SCRS asked me for a brief explanation on parts procurement, I wrote this. Insurance industry parts procurement is being aggressively pursued in Canada with one major insurer involved, or waiting to go in. In insurer-dominant marketplaces, shops fear that saying no to an insurer's program means the blacklisting of their business. Shops that agree to participate in insurer parts procurement programs in Canada have found their labor rates lowered, discounts taken, and parts orders taking extra days to arrive from distant and unknown suppliers, as the program restricts their supplier options to only those suppliers that agree to pay a fee to the insurer when parts are sold. So you can only buy it from dealers, recyclers, aftermarket companies who agree to pay an additional percentage back to the insurer. You can't buy it from your local supplier, even if it's the same price. Shops cannot deliver on-time estimates, nor have they got a problem because the repair times, KPI times, key-to-key times, and the rental costs are increasing while production efficiency suffers. Here's where it becomes interesting. What one of the trade media publications, the online and periodical groups did, was they sent this, quote, to the insurer. And they asked the Vice President of Procurement, they said, can you comment on that? And so the Vice President of the insurance company, A, surprised me that they responded, and B, surprised that they took a hit at me personally, and saying labor rates are not a component of our parts program. Mr. Norris's reference to labor rates, because I said labor rates had to be lowered in the program, is incorrect. They said with any program supported by software, there are fees associated with its use. The fees charged are fully disclosed to both shops and parts suppliers in advance of their participation. Our company's parts procurement program is focused on the acquisition of quality parts as an essential component in repairing our customers' vehicles in a safe and timely manner. The program supports our DRP program, shops in reducing cycle time and improving overall efficiency in cost and repairs, improving the overall cost of repair. In 2012, the program provided parts availability and pricing through a single portal in less than 30 minutes. Shops, they continued, were able to make a choice on parts ordering in less than an hour of the vehicle arriving at their shop. Parts are then delivered according to availability as specified by the supplier. Return parts due to incorrect part selection or quality of part have historically been over 15%. Our parts program has reduced the rate of return to under 10%. Now, the interesting point in all of that is the only thing they argued about me with my comments was that I said the labor rates were discounted in order to be on the parts procurement program, They said, absolutely not. I'm wrong. That's not the case at all. And I have an admission to you, I was wrong. Labor rates for shops on the parts procurement program do not change. However, to be on the parts procurement program, you must be one of their DRP shops. And every DRP shop has to take a discounted labor rate. Wording usage. No labor change, because you've already dropped your labor rate in order to go to the DRP program, so that's the only way you can get a parts procurement program. So it's an interesting wording example. In Ontario, the company that's doing the parts procurement program, between them and recently purchased companies, holds about 22% of all policies. To give you an example, State Farm Mutual Insurance holds 15.2% in Ontario of all insurance policies. Incidentally, State Farm Insurance asked for and received permission to raise premiums 8% last year. Here's one of the issues that we'll get into and why you'll see why it's relevant perhaps later. Ontario male age 35 with no accidents driving a minivan in Toronto will pay 5 times the insurance premiums that the same driver pays in the public insurance province next door in Manitoba. With those kind of premium variables, you can understand that insurance premiums are a hot, touchy, political, election issue that comes up from time to time because of those kind of disparities. Let's look at Northwest Ontario. In Northwest Ontario, the major insurer that had 22% of the marketplace actually had a much higher marketplace dominance of almost 50%. And that's largely because of acquisitions of other insurance companies, acquisitions of brokers. So what they have, both by definition and competition policy and by law, is they have a marketplace dominance in that marketplace. Without that insurer's vehicle repair business, a collision shop would not see any business. It's a heavy marketplace dominance of over 50%, so you want to make sure that you've got that insurer's business. Shops complain that an insurer, in this particular case, sells heavily on telephone. And they can steer from 40, according to shops, 40 to 70% of all traffic away from you. And steer them into their DRP shops instead of your particular facility. Shops feel obligated to be on the program. And when they're on the program, they accept a variety of conditions and demands from the insurer. It may be first repair, it may be rental cost transactions, paying the rental cost after a certain number of days. It could be branding, for vehicle salvage branding programs, it could be storage costs. But there are other areas that they get into that the insurer demands. Now, again, we're 40 to 70% of the business according to shops can be steered away. So, knowing that, shops want to be able to continue working with this insurer. Now, door labor rates were dropped. When they dropped for parts procurement, they were dropped because they went on the DRP program, which you have to be on parts procurement. So in Northwest Ontario, we had shops at $76 an hour, some on $84. And those labor rates would drop with these programs down to 63. A number of shops that we talked to over the last few weeks went to 54. 54 seems to be the area where the insurance company is demanding the shops be. We were, prior to that, Northwest Ontario, most of the shops were in the $68 to $80 an hour range. We have some unionized shops up there. We have 7 unionized facilities for our members. Unionized facilities under their current collective agreement pay their staff $32 an hour and 18% benefit. So you can imagine some of the costs for the employee side against what you receive in these kind of revenues from the insurer. This is fairly unique, and when I explain this in foreign markets, I give this real quizzical look. But the insurer also takes a further 5% from the check sent to the shop. So you've reduced your labor rates. Now when you send in your bill for $3,000 repair, you won't get a $3,000 check. You'll get a check with 5% removed, and then 5% is taken off the total amount, including the tax. So 5% or up to 5% is removed before the claim check actually gets to your shop. Let's give you some challenges. Shop in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Talked to him the other day. He's on the program. Used to just walk across the road to the Honda dealer. Didn't even call him. Just walked across the road and picked up his parts. Now he has to order the parts from the Honda dealer who is on this program. Remember, we must use the suppliers the insurer supplier. He doesn't have a choice. So he orders it from Honda in Newmarket. It's 638 kilometers. I don't know how big is New Zealand, but it's a 638 kilometer trip. Exceeds the length of New Zealand, I think. So it's 3 to 5 days getting there by truck. He can only purchase the local product if the insured selected supplier has no stock or can't obtain stock. He cannot go across the road and buy it from the Honda dealer even at the same price. He must, if the other supplier from the insurer has that part, he must buy it from that dealer. And that particular dealer, the closest to him in the program, is 638 kilometers away. It takes him 3 to 5 days by truck. This particular shop pays the rental cost for the customer while he's waiting for the part. So you're waiting for he takes 7 days for rentals. He's got 5 days before the part shows up. So he's really paying through the nose on this. Another example, shopping company, they must buy used parts from the only supplier that the insurer identifies. That supplier is in Welland. That's a distance of 1,502 kilometers to get the parts. I'm not sure if you think that was efficient. I don't really think that meets the efficiency standard. But it's a fairly long way to wait. I don't think you're going to get your car repaired that day. We thought, are we being fair? I mean, we're picking shops in Northwest Ontario, so why don't we go into the urban center? Right? The vast majority of repairs, 60% of repairs are done 40 miles from the U.S. border. So that's all the Toronto, Niagara, Oshawa corridor, right? So we looked at Hamilton, right in the middle. Population 500,000. And we asked the shops, where do you get your GM parts from on the program? Well, they get them from Niagara Falls. So that's 70 kilometers away, and those parts are delivered by truck back to the shop that's on the parts procurement program. They have to go buy 11 other GM dealers to get it, because those other 11 dealers have declined to be involved in the insurance company's parts procurement program. If the shop's buying Kia, Mitsubishi, they're buying it from Kitchener, Ontario, another 75 kilometers away. Again, the delivery truck goes by 6 other Kia dealers in order to get that part from the insurer's allocated dealership. Even if he can find the same part across the road, he is not permitted to purchase it. He can only buy it from that from the supplier the insurer has demanded him to buy it. I want just to get this right. What we've seen, all the local supplier contracts and the long-term relationships with your supplier disappear with this, because your local suppliers often aren't in this loop. Now, I have to tell you, to be fair, we have some shops in remote areas who like this. The shops in the busy areas obviously have some problems. But the remote shops like this, I had one shop on the other side of One River, and he said he's got no dealers around. The closest dealer is like 150 kilometers away. And he says, this is good. He says, I used to get 15% because I'm in the middle of nowhere, they shipped it, I get 15%. Now I get 20% because there's an option to allow the insurer to buy the parts for it. He's on COD with everybody because he has no money. So this is a good deal for him. Instead of getting 15%, he gets 20%. The insurer buys it. He doesn't put any money out. The insurer buys it, ships it to him from the supplier, and he's actually getting an additional 5%. Because he wasn't able to get it before, and he has no money. So if the insurance company buys it, well, that's great. Then they give him a percentage profit. Now the challenge happens when you get production shops. So when you have some of our urban and some Ontario production shops running $3-4 million a year, these guys just per these vehicles out. And they're doing 50 a week. And so they have over the years developed relationships with suppliers who give them discount programs. So they might get 30% off from the GM dealer that's around the corner. Well, guess what? He can't do that now. He has to put the order into Niagara Falls, 70 kilometers away, past 11 other GM dealers, for the part to come over when? Next day, 2 days, 3 days, maybe. And what does he get? He gets 25% off, but he was buying at 30% off now. So he gets 25% off and has to wait 2 or 3 days. His KPIs are down the toilet, and he's waiting 2 extra days now to getting his cars out. Now, we've seen this type of program before. It was used in the home damage business, where the insurer comes in, it does an estimate for the damage, it then takes the parts and emails them to Home Depot. And Home Depot then takes that order and ships it to the house. And the installer, whoever is going to be the installer, to put those parts in, gets a 10% handling fee. And your Rexall with a 10% handling fee. So, what was really interesting is the company that perfected that for the home renovation side, the home damage side, lost all their staff from that parts procurement program for home renovations because this insurer hired them to handle collision repair. So we envision that nothing much will change. We envision that what will happen is within 5 years, shop owners, and you'll hear the same thing from Rex, 5 years, shop owners in Canada will be deluged with different parts procurement programs. I read an article today, some guy saying, well, it isn't an issue in Canada. We talked to the suppliers and the insurers, and no such thing happens. And I'm saying, where is that? We're running it now. State Farm sent me the same letter, sent all our shops the same letter that you got, saying about the parts trader program, all with U.S. references. I mean, and you go to the U.S. to check it. And we've had another insurer do the same thing. So everybody's waiting to see how successful this program is going to be. But what we're going to end up with is we're going to end up being, we call it fender footer honors. Right? Parts will be shipped to you, you get a 10% handling fee, your normal parts profit is gone, and you end up with the same type of program we have in the home renovation, home repair side. What do we do with this? Well, this may be sounding a little radical, and certainly not what we've heard from other guests. And here's the simple reality. The simple reality is that very few people care. Huh? I mean, if your shop closes, it's not going to make the papers. It's not a huge news item. It's just a normal transaction like a business in Canada. So how do we modify the thinking on that? So here's what we did. On July the 10th, we made a presentation to the Standing Committee on House Economic Finance and Affairs. This is the all-party group, so all 3 political parties are there. We went to them and made a presentation on, and we got a lot of attention, on kickbacks. Kickbacks in the tow industry, kickbacks in the remediation and healthcare industry that we're apparently doing a lot of fraudulent activity with. And we've been involved in government on various projects for a long time. We wrote this home salvage project and we wrote their environmental policies. So we talked to them about chase tow vehicles, we talked about solicitation accident scenes and procurement activities by mediation clinics and clinic salespeople. We also talked to them about parts procurement activity fees demanded by insurers. That insurers were demanding that shops do certain things. Insurers were getting a 3% fee. In fact, this quote, I quoted that about getting $2 million. So getting a fee from people who want that. Right? Now, hey, we all remember that stuff, right? We've seen it on TV. The guy with that really husky voice who says, hey, we like you, but we want you to deal with just these guys. They're really nice, and they'll look after you. And, at the end of the month, you just give them 5% back out of the till, and they'll pay you. You'll have our customers. You want to be in business, right? So we've heard those kind of comments in different movies in the past. But anyway, we met with the 3 committees. They freaked out because they're dealing with fraud issues on an ongoing basis, and this certainly wasn't helpful. We then met with the regulators on market conduct. The Financial Services Commission of Ontario to look at how regulators should actually be working on the market conduct program. Should insurers be in the business of insuring? And could that be a public policy issue, or should they be in the business of parts ordering? What the Premier asked us to do was meet with their task force on insurance fraud. We sat down with the 4 commissioners on the insurance fraud program. The report's coming out in a few weeks. And we were very well received by the insurance task force on fraud. And I had a quote, which I didn't put on the screen. The quote was, one of the commissioners, there's only 4, I was scheduled for an hour, they kept me for 2. And the commissioner said, John, quote, I've read a ahead in your report, and if an insurer is engaged in a parts procurement program like this, we need to stop it immediately. I will ask the chairman to include in his report. Parts procurement can lead to only one thing, he said, and that's stripping shops of the dollars they need to repair vehicles safely. And we will not tolerate unsafe vehicles on the Ontario fleet. And he was adamant. What was interesting to me, and I knew the commissioner, what was interesting to me is that he'd only been the commissioner for 3 weeks. And prior to that, he was the president of the 5th largest insurance company in the country. So let's face it, what do you do when the issue of shop closure is not a significant marketplace activity? Well, what does all this mean? Well, in my view, what it means is, and what the issues are, is the destruction of the OEM price list of parts. I mean, how far do you have to think along the line to say that 5 years from now, when you call up for that 2010 Honda bumper front, your insurance company will say, well, we'll give you $121.53. Why? Because we've done 2,000 of these, John, and that's what the average is. So you buy wherever you want. You can buy, on our list from the dealer, or you can buy from our list from a recycler, but that's all we give you. So what you do is you fundamentally change the repair technologies. You're putting on parts you may not want as a qualified technician, because keep in mind, when something goes wrong, all the legislation, all the case law says the insurer will blame the shop. They'll say, well, we don't know. I mean, we're just dummy insurance guys. You're the qualified people. You should have known that was wrong when we told you that. All right? So we want to make sure that because we do have licensed technicians in Canada that have gone through a 7,000-hour apprenticeship, we want to make sure that we're actually installing those safely. Second is the continued viability of small local suppliers is the problem. One shop may not pay a difference, but if you're going to have a significant closure of dealers, used car activities, aftermarket, you're going to have a closure of some of the used car, the recycling, that's an issue. Abuse of market power. If you've got 50% more marketplace dominance, the potential for abuse of market power is significant because the improper dominance in the marketplace. Exclusive dealing, that's what we're talking about. Tied selling, marketplace restrictions, those are investigative activities under competition policy. Federally, particularly if they have a high marketplace dominance. Price maintenance using discount models is an issue. Is this improper market conduct? Should insurers be in the parts business? Demands for alternative parts may be untested. What if you're putting an order in? Insurers have gone to the OEMs for the last 20 years and said, you must build a safer vehicle. You must put the technologies and the safety impacts in here to save people's lives. And you know what? OEMs have done a phenomenal job. Yeah, the technology's not more complex, but they've done a great job in changing the compounds, the technologies, the metals, and engineering a car that, you can run a wall at 60 and walk away. Can you believe that? The technology is great. And they did that because the insurers asked. And as soon as they did that, the insurers said, fine, we're not going to buy your parts. Right? So what happens if you get an alternative part? Is it being tested? Is it being road tested? Is it CAPA? Is it NSF? Is it Diamond? Has it met the standard? So we've got parts we don't know if we can get them installed or how we can activate it. If we don't have any money to repair that car properly, then we end up with, just as the commissioner said, potential for unsafe vehicles entering the outdoor fleet. Is that the car you want to have meet you on Highway 11 in the Sioux at 2 in the morning in a snowstorm? We have improper demands or potential for improper demands for handling fees. We have a significant issue that may exist, I say may, of failure to use parts profits and claims cost reduction analysis. Failure to use attribution rules. How many are in no-fault jurisdictions? Nobody here? Good? Okay. Attribution rules. In a no-fault program system, you have an accident, you get the car repaired by your own insurer. Your own insurer pays for that, right? And then once that's finished, your own insurer bills back the insurer whose client caused the accident, who's at fault. So you do a $3,000 repair. You send the insurance company a bill for $3,000. You don't get $3,000, right? You get $2,800 because they can hold back up to 5% and keep it. So what does that insurer bill the other company? They bill $3,000. or they bill $2,800. Committee, the standing committee is telling us they're going at $2,800. They think they were fraud standard. So there's money being kept, not reported with the regulator, which means higher insurance rates that are artificially induced. What was interesting was when we asked the Vice President of Procurement, the answer for what we use the funds for from them was it's driven by acquisitions. That was critical to me because it's not driven by efficiency. It's not driven by the fact we want this to improve what we want with our clients. It's driven by acquisitions. We bought 2 other companies and a bunch of brokers. Somebody's got to pay for that. So we're making money to pay for acquisitions. Is that good public policy? Are we as motorists who have to buy insurance, should we tolerate having the profits from something else instead of applying to our premiums being used for acquiring their private insurance? An issue. The failure to identify procurements, profits, and rate filings we talked about. Identification of substantially decreased costs and improved profits have been masked, and that's another issue. There are significant decreases in costs for insurance companies operating in Ontario in 2010, 2011. FSCO has given us the private data, it hasn't gone public. And we're talking about auto thefts being down by half. You know, personal care attendant benefits being down by 85%. It's significant reductions. And we are yet to see insurers asking for reductions in premium allowances. There's also the growing and provable fact that increased profits and reduced costs for insurer may not equate to lower premiums for motorists. Think about that. I mean, if they're making big bucks and their claims are way down, then that should mean that the premiums go down. But they don't. Why is that? Is it the rate filings are wrong? Is it the wrong data? Is it not using the right data? So in the end, this is a public policy issue. It's not a shop issue, although its shops are impacted, but it's a public policy. Because if vehicle insurance is mandatory, it's a mandatory purchase, then a reasonable effort needs to be shown to reduce the cost for motorists that are forced to purchase it. In the foreseeable future, if you're generating millions of dollars in parts profits that should have gone to a repair facility and may have a potential negatively impacting repair quality, and you're using those parts profits to pay off acquisition costs, then for premium reduction, then that's not in the public interest. It's not the government's interest, it's not the regulator's interest. So it's a public policy issue. Thank you. Merci. And I hope God save the Queen.
God save the repairers.